Let's turn our attention to Texas, where a jury recommended that defendant Ronald Burgos-Aviles be sentenced to life in prison without parole late last night, saying no to the death penalty. The former Border Patrol agent had already been found guilty of double murder of his ex-girlfriend Griselda and their 18-month-old little boy Dominic. He was facing either death, life, or life without parole. And when it all came down, the jury could not recommend death. They came back with a unanimous decision of life. Unanimous, can you believe it? Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft covering the case for us from the very beginning in Laredo, Texas. She has the latest and the reaction.
A Webb County jury deliberated more than 10 hours in the penalty phase for the former Border Patrol agent supervisor Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles. He killed 27-year-old Griselda and the baby they shared together, 1-year-old Dominic. The jury decided to spare his life. Instead, the defendant will spend the rest of his life behind bars.
My mother was the best mom I could ever ask for. She was a hard worker. She was a great cook and the best mother. And for Dominic, he was my best brother, my only brother, the brother that I wished for. Now I don't have nobody. I wish this was a dream, but no, they're gone and not coming back. So for me, I don't have a mother or a brother, only memories.
The same jury convicted Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles of 2 counts of capital murder earlier this month. Burgos lured the mother and son to Father McNaboe Park in an attempt to prevent him from having to take a paternity test and pay child support. Baby Dominic would have turned 7 years old this month.
In 9 days, July the 26th, it will be Dominic's birthday. He will be turning 7. This year, however, will be special on his birthday because he'll receive the biggest gift of all, a gift from you. That a jury in Laredo, Texas is giving him and his mommy justice.
The jury did unanimously find that the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that there was a probability that defendant would commit continuing acts of violence. But the jury also found mitigating evidence existed to warrant life in prison rather than the death penalty. Immediately after the verdict, we spoke to Webb County District Attorney Isidro Alanis. What is your reaction?
Well, we're disappointed in the verdict and the sentencing, but we respect the jury's decision. Obviously, a death penalty case, they have to answer these 2 special issue questions. They did find him to be a future danger. But on question number 2, they found that there was circumstance or circumstances that justified life without the possibility of parole. Our job was to bring them all the evidence necessary to make those 2 decisions and to answer those questions. At the end of the day, we respect their decision.
And after the verdict, we spoke with defense counsel William Boggs, who simply said, "We express our deepest condolences to the Hernandez family." In Laredo, Texas, Kelly Craft will send it back to you.
Our thanks to Kelly. Let's talk about this decision by this jury. In studio with us, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Jack Rice, and in New York, there's Marie Pereira. Both of you reactions. Marie, you first.
I respect the process, so I'll say that, but I'll say it again. The only way that those jurors came back with life in prison without parole is if they were morally against the death penalty. In that case, during voir dire, when they were polled and they were questioned on would they be able to put someone to death who has been convicted of a death penalty type crime, they said yes. They must have been lying, because in this case, all the aggravating factors were proven beyond a reasonable doubt, warranting that death penalty. A double murder a homicide, a filicide, committed unprovoked for pecuniary gain, because at the end of the day, he just didn't want to pay child support, by a person who's in a position of triple trust, a former lover, a father, a Border Patrol agent who tried everything he needed to do to avoid accountability. What else did the jurors need to find that he couldn't be allowed to take one more breath for what he did? He murdered them. He did it for money because he didn't want to pay child support. They did nothing to him. It was unprovoked. He was in a Border Patrol uniform when he did it. He was that little boy's father when he did it. Triple trust. What else? That's all I have to say. I'm shocked.
Jack?
It's an extraordinarily difficult place when you realize where this jury is, because first of all, they have to be qualified, death penalty qualified. In other words, they'll say, if everything is presented to us, we can make the decision to, dare I say it, pull that trigger. In this particular case, they all promised that they would do that. I think what happens is there's that place where the rubber hits the road. There must have been somebody, at least one, but one or more, who came together and said, I thought I could do this. I thought if I had had enough presented to me, I could be, if you will, the executioner. But I think when that moment came, there was somebody somewhere, for whatever reason, moral or otherwise, who simply said, this is something that I can't do. Not something that shouldn't be done, but something that I can't do. And I think it's in some ways easy for all of us to sit back and say, how could they not have done this? Except for all of these very people were the very ones who have to live with the ramifications of what they do. And so knowing that, I think it sort of maybe explains a little bit as to why they sometimes think they can do something, but when it comes to it, they can't. And that's what I think happened here.
The family of Griselda Hernandez very upset by this decision. Here's her brother during the victim impact statements.
You ambushed my nephew and my sister. You thought you were going to get away with it, didn't you? No doubt you hurt our family. Now it's time for your family to cry for you and miss you, because you will be in prison. My sister and my nephew's souls will live forever. My father taught me that a man takes care of his responsibilities no matter the situation. I'm guessing your father didn't teach you how to be a man. You will be forgotten like yesterday's newspaper after today. It pleases me knowing that for the rest of your pathetic, miserable life, you will be missing all of your family gatherings while being locked in a cell, thinking of what you did. Coward. Now you want to study the Bible and act like you found God? After this court session is done, I'm going with my family to go have a nice dinner with our loved ones around the table, while you eat alone in your cell wishing you can go home. Goodbye, coward.
Marie, the impacts for this family, they're going to be lifelong, and it didn't really matter what the jury decided here. That Griselda was never coming back. Dominic was never going to live his life. At the end of the day, they feel betrayed, though. And we saw this happen in Parkland as well with Nicholas Cruz. It leaves, for them, a bitter taste because they believe that the maximum penalty, that this guy checked all the boxes for the maximum penalty, and they didn't get that for their case.
It is a betrayal. And I say it again, if the jurors knew, any one of them, that they couldn't vote death in this death penalty case during voir dire, they're questioned on it and they should have said it. And I understand Jack when he says, you know what, it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to be faced with it. You know what, jurors, don't sit on death penalty cases if you can't vote on death when all the aggravating factors are there. And I do feel a sense of betrayal on behalf of the family. I feel betrayed because we all followed this case. We all remember that little T-shirt had no stab mark on the fabric because that heinous, evil devil pulled it over his little face when he stabbed him through the heart. Let's not forget that. What else did the jurors need to come up with death penalty? The family, they didn't really get justice. That man should not see one light of day. And he's going to live the rest of his life in jail. He never deserved life, the same life he took, the 2 lives. He should be planning on the death penalty for him, and he didn't get it. Justice was not served here.
All right, we'll continue to follow the reaction throughout the day here on Court TV.